You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Marc Von Musser, proven secrets to reinvent yourself after 40. Welcome, ladies. So I did this call a couple of weeks ago that's going to turn into an episode of the show about my own reinvention. And I decided to do a little series for the Life Check Yourself podcast on midlife reinvention. And one of the questions I got is like, have you had a mentor? Like, who's your mentor? Who's your coach? And it just so happens that I am so lucky that one of the most profound impacts on my life agreed to appear today on our show. And I'm excited for you to meet him. Marc Von Musser takes his knowledge from 40 plus years of human optimization. And I just love that, every part of it. Sales training, and helping industry giants such as Tony Robbins, clients on demand, thousands of business owners, coaches, and consultants and experts to help them add 6, 7, 8, or 9 figures. Love that. He has worked with clients to enroll over $1 billion in new clients. He has just made his own reinvention. He's the founder of SoarAndRoar and Heart-Driven Selling. He's got a new program he's going to be launching called Sales Alchemy, and he's just a freaking powerhouse. So I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's funny that word about powerhouse, that's how I always described you as well. You were one of a handful of powerhouses that came through that were so much fun. You were like a force of nature, and getting to help steer that towards a good outcome was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I love that. So Marc and I met. So I think I want to start by just prefacing this idea that reinvention isn't a one and done. I think the universe always gives us signs to reinvent. But what I want to ask you, first of all, because I think you have so much to talk to about this, is that most people, when shit starts to not work or there are obstacles in the way, they don't see it as an opportunity.
That's very true.
They're like, you know, I suck, I'm fucked, forget it, I give up, why me, why bother? So to talk to me about like what that means to you when life just starts to feel like it's not aligned and stuff's just not working.
Sure. What it really reminds me of is that the wrong person is doing the talking. And within each of our own brain, we have a superhero, a version of us that has done amazing things, but there's also a supervillain. And society has really cultivated that supervillain, the victim mentality, the, oh, life's not fair mentality. Oh, it shouldn't have been that way. And what happens is that version of us gets a lot of ammunition, a lot of juice, where the superhero has to fight for everything to do something great. So what happens by the time people get that, they're presupposing that it was supposed to be easy. And my question on that is, says who? Think about going to the gym. Marni, you're in great shape. And imagine you guys wanting to go ski and you're doing that, but you're not going to go to the gym. You're just going to go to the gym and bitch about the machines. You're going to go and bitch about the equipment. You're going to go bitch about the lines. You're not going to lift anything. But how much muscle do you build? Zero. So what's happened is people have come along and society has been giving away participation trophies for far too long. So what happens is people are now wanting validation for doing nothing. And what happens, then they try something, they get their ass kicked because they don't have the muscle. And now they say, oh, see, I told you life was unfair. So what happens is the wrong version of them is deciding that. The superhero was duct taped and put in the back seat. And let them drive. And that is not who you want driving when you're wanting to redesign your second half of your life. And it's funny you mentioned that. I started doing what I call MVM 2.0.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically going back through and looking and saying, okay, out of every body on the planet, I've got Jabba the Hutt, fat, slimy. I've got a skinny basketball player who has no muscle tone at all, and everything in between. And I looked at that. I said, do I have the version of me that I want? I want to look like a superhero. I want to perform like a superhero. I want. So I need to reconnect to that. Had some injuries where I ruptured my quadricep tendon, my patella tendon, and fractured both patellas. That set me back. So I have to rebuild. And I have to choose that, you know what, I'm going to do that. And here's why. And I start doing that. But if I let my supervillain decide, my supervillain's going to immediately go, well, look at how many, just having one of those injuries will end your career in basketball. You don't come back from those. And then if you have two, the chances are slim and none. And if I let that version of my head, I'm not even going to start rebuilding. So I had to be very, very cognizant and very strong decision to say, I want to have a superhero body. Age doesn't matter. Now I'm almost 60. And what I started to notice when I made that declaration, all of a sudden I find out there's this beautiful African-American woman. She's in her 80s, and Ernestine Shepherd. She looks better than most 20-year-olds.
Right.
And then there's Dr. Light. Dr. Light is also in his 80s. He was one of the finalists for Body for Life. And the guy's in his 80s, and he looks amazing. So I now started to find references,
right?
People that are older that are in great shape, not good shape, I mean great shape. And so because I let the superhero decide, the superhero grow for it, now I start finding references for that truth. But you have to work a lot harder for those because society is far too quick to play you the victim card and give you a nice warm safety blanket. And, oh, it's so unfair. I can't believe that happened to you. And if you're in victimhood, you have no power. You have
no power. I think that's so interesting because I where I'm living now in Colorado, age does not exist, right? Like the pool closed down for remodeling, and I was going like a few times a week, and there are these guys in their mid 70s that are like pissed, right? Because one guy's like, I'm just gonna fly to Denver a couple times a week, because I've got my master swim club and my races and my 140-mile bike ride I got to do. And I'm like, yeah, like age is all up here. Okay, so let's talk about this. For me, my reinvention, my latest one started because of an accident. I had that ski accident in 2020, broke my sacrum, was in bed, sort of couldn't do anything, couldn't do all the busy things that used to distract me from the truth. And that was the beginning. So for you, for this latest MVM 2.0 in all areas of your life, what was the cause? Did you have an inciting incident, or did it just build up over time?
It would build up over time, but there was several acute moves that forced me to want to, step up, like rupturing my quadricep tendon and my patella tendon on the right side, and then fracturing both legs where I was in bed. And they said it was going to be 4 months with no weight bearing. 4 months where I literally was supposed to be in just a hospital bed. And David Thunder helped me back, and Dr. Val Frank, they helped me a ton. So I was able to walk back into the surgeon's office at 10 weeks. But it's been a long journey. But there were other things that were coming as well. On the business side of it, there were a lot of shifts that were coming that were being forced to kind of show that, hey, humanity is not getting served at the level they need to. There's a lot of people struggling. There's a lot of people that need help. And in the position I was in, I really wasn't able to fully do that. And it got to a point where I had a lot to offer, but the vehicle that I was in, it just wasn't a fit for me to bring the message of hope and the message of how to do it, because we were only doing high ticket there. That was all. It was all about just high ticket. And there's nothing wrong with high ticket, but there's a lot of other vehicles that spread the word as well and can really have big impact. So I started seeing more and more people needing help. I saw the limitations of the vehicle that I was previously in, and realized that I am either into my purpose and going to live it fully, or I'm not. And that's really what it came down to. I'm either going to go all in completely and see where it goes, or I'm going to, play it safe, and everything was good. But good is the mortal enemy of great, from everything from relationships to business to your purpose. And I don't believe we're really here just to be good and be comfortable. I think that we're here to go ahead and change the world and bring a light to the world, and whatever that is on our heart.
So that's huge. So like for people who are listening, you're like in a career, you're in a position, you're in a role, you have a business, and it's good. Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, I always say, everyone that I listens to this show, like, they have the t-shirt, they read the book. Like, they know their demons, but yet they're afraid. Someone asked me on this call the other day, like, I'm so afraid that I'm going to make a mistake that I'm paralyzed from doing anything. Yeah. So talk to us about like your mindset. Like, how did you, because you can't predict, you don't know what's going to make you happy. Do you want to work that hard and start over, all this stuff that like when we're reinventing, right? What was going on through your mind, and how did you work through that fear?
Great question. So the first thing that I did is I had to decide, again, based on purpose and values, because it's kind of like I was taken care of. I was doing fine, right? Bills were paid, houses, trips, whatever. That was all great. But I wasn't fully living my purpose. And when I looked in the mirror and decided, is this what I'm here for? It's just a white picket fence, a nice car, and to disappear. And I knew that wasn't why I was here. I was here to help people identify their greatness, inspire them, and activate them until they own it themselves. And so I knew I wasn't doing that at the full length of what I needed to do. So I started to evaluate. And the other part, too, is about, you had mentioned that people get paralyzed. So when you're looking at, what if I do it wrong? Here's the truth. You're going to make mistakes. So if you understand that to begin with, the question is not if you're going to make mistakes. You are. The question is, do you remember the version of you that's overcome hundreds and thousands of mistakes you've already made? Because that superhero back in charge, now it's okay to get out there, make some mistakes. But now what I'm doing is that I'm pulling on the version of me that's already overcome 1,000 different things. And now I can handle whatever challenges come forward. The second thing is that I have a belief that I need some of those mistakes to fully find out how to do it right. You don't anything. I don't care if it's martial arts, surfing, skiing, anything you do. I learned how to ski by falling and eating more snow than just about anybody, right? I did not understand when I started skiing. Everyone else assumed Mark knew how to ski when in high school, right? Because I skated and everybody else seemed to ski, but Mark did not. My dad was on the Olympic ski team. Me, not so much. So I did a lot. And then I did an exchange program to Colorado. I think it was Alameda High. We exchanged over there. And next thing you know, we're going skiing up in Breckenridge and Loveland and Keystone, right? Well, I've never been skiing. And I did not realize what the double diamond meant, the black double diamond.
Oh, God.
You know what that meant? And so I did not even know. I didn't even have ski clothes. I had jeans and a jacket, right? I did not have ski clothes. Did not know how to get on the lift. So I look and I'm watching everybody and I'm just kind of copying what everybody's doing. And then the next thing you know, I'm on the lift going up to the top of this double diamond thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? How do I get on? I don't even know how to get on the thing. Then I don't know how to get off. And I'm like, trying to look as you're coming up to the top, what's going to happen? And then as I go, I'm like, oh shit. So I finally come off the lift at the very top and I don't know how to stop. And they're all sitting down there waiting for me. I'm the last one. So I ski right into them, knock them over like them bowling balls, pins. And then I'm like, they're all laughing, going, okay, let's go. And they're all ready to go over. And it's a straight drop down. There's one way down. And I'm like, guys, I don't know how to ski. And they all thought I was joking. And I'm like, oh, holy crap, what the hell? I did not realize you could get back on the lift and take it back down either. I didn't. So I'm of this double diamond. Everybody eventually takes off. And I had to make the decision, well, there's one way down. So I'm watching people, how they take the lip and they drop down and drop off this lip. And so I do it and I eat shit and I start eating snow. Then I learned how to put my skis on the side of a hill and crawl to this next ski and all the different stuff. But what happened was after I ate enough snow, I decided that I was going to get really good. And I started watching up the hill, watching what people were doing. Oh, he put his pull and then he pivoted his body. Okay. And then I did that. And then I did it right. I didn't eat snow. And then I ate shit on the second one. Then I repeated this process. It took me about 2.5 hours to get down the hill. And by the end of the day, I was better than everybody in this that we came with. And nobody when I was doing back stretchers off of jumps. I was doing 360s. I was coming down the hill, doing spins. And for whatever reason, I had committed to do it, but I was willing to eat more snow when we got to jumps and things like that. I had already eaten shit probably 200 times already. So this was just number 201. And everyone else was afraid of doing it wrong. But I remember going up and doing a back scratch where it hit the back of my back a little harder than I should have. But it was just one of those things that if you're willing to fail forward. And again, in sales has taught me that as well. It's like, you don't focus on the failure. You focus on what did I learn? You focus on what can I do to get better? Just like when I learned how to ski, when I did that in rebuilding myself too, I'm not expecting not to have challenges. I hope that I do have those challenges because that's the area of weakness that I need to improve on. And that's it. So that's kind of a big shift, but we only have so many days here on earth, right?
Yeah.
I had to decide, how do I want to live it? When I take my final breath, what kind of impact do I want to leave? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? What kind of experiences do I want to have been a part of? And started making a list of what those look like, and then looked at the vehicle and the containers that I had in my life and was deciding, can I achieve that if I'm stuck here? And sometimes that's why they call them golden handcuffs. The golden handcuffs, a lot of times, is just enough money for you to quit on your dream. And there was a George Clooney movie that was really good. It also had that guy that was in the Spider-Man movies. He was the editor, the mean editor guy. He won an Academy Award for the drumming movie. There's some really...
Yeah. I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But there's a George Clooney movie where it had Anna Kendrick, and he goes into firing people, right? They go into airlines and they fire...
Yeah. Yep.
But he goes up to that other guy, I forget his name, but he goes up to the guy and he goes, how much money did they pay you to give up on your dream? He's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? He goes, well, I see here that you went to chef school and you had this prestigious cooking degree and da-da-da-da. He goes, and then the guy goes, $75,000. $75,000 was enough money to get a house, a mortgage, but give up on his dream. So he spent his life doing something to play it safe, but his dream was dying. And that was kind of one of the whole premises of it, was how much money did it take for you to quit on your dream and being the best version of you? So that was part of the thing that I got back to, was writing out and saying, you know, what do I want to achieve? It's like, whether it's martial arts, whether it's learning a new language, whether it's traveling, whether it's getting in the all-time best shape, it's all possible. And a big part of it was deciding and writing out, what do I want my 2.0 version of me to be? And then I have to look at the vehicles and make a decision. Can I still do it with where I'm at, or do I need to make some changes? And if you know why you're making the changes, those changes are a lot easier to make, especially if you have the underlying beliefs that I'm expecting to make mistakes. I can't get there without it. So I take that off the table so I can move forward. And that has served me and my clients a lot, very, very well.
I love that. One thing I always say is that action precedes clarity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you would never know what you want, what you don't want, what you suck at, what you need to learn, because our like intellectual brain only knows so much, right? Like, and so it's that movement that actually creates the awareness and the clarity of what you want to do. Because if you would have just said, like, think back to 1.0 or 0.5 version, right? How different? Is it the same? Is it exactly the same? Did you ever imagine you would be doing this when you started? Like, what was your, like, when I grow up, I'm gonna?
Yeah, I wanted to be, it's funny, I wanted to do sports probably more than anything. I was really, really good. I was undefeated, and I had a PhD in shit talking like you cannot believe. I mean, I was getting thrown out of games. I would call out the umpire. I'd call out the pitcher. I'd call out players on the team. I mean, you name it. I was going, but I could deliver and back it up with, you know, highest batting average, you know, most stolen bases. And so I was a little animal. And it was just one of those things that's funny. When I look back, it's like sales was something that I was always really good at. And I always loved studying it and seeing what worked and what didn't. I was almost as fascinated by the psychology of it as to getting a yes. Getting a yes was amazing, but if I got a no, I was just as curious. I wonder where I missed it. I wonder what I could have done. I wonder what the key leverage point, what did I miss? And staying curious for some 40 years and studying and testing and seeing, that's really allowed me to navigate kind of the human condition. And so in terms of that, for me, I've always been driven, but as I got older, I realized that you really can have it. When you're a kid, you're not sure you can have it. You know,
Right.
you want it. You want to get the cars. You want to do the trips. But then there comes a point when you get older where you realize, holy shit, I thought I was playing full out when I was 20. I thought I was playing full out when I was 30, but there's a whole nother level at 40, 50, 60. There's a whole nother level. It's almost like what you lost in physical acumen, you made up for in, smarts, like grandma smarts, dad
Right.
smarts.
Wisdom.
Yes. So that part has been definitely part of it. And the other part too, which I'd say is that as we get older, if you're not careful, comfort is a thing that kind of comes in and it takes away your edge. And so what happens, we're so used to being comfortable. We drive to work a certain way because we know it has less traffic lights. We do things, we get up at a certain time, we have a nice bed, we have nice food, everything is built around comfort. And one thing I noticed that as we get older, is if we're not careful, we lose the greatness that we can be. So one of the things that's always helped me as well is to do things to intentionally be uncomfortable, whether it's a cold shower, whether it's putting the window down, when it's cold, whether it's going outside in the snow, whether it's going outside in the heat, or whether it's doing things that I know I probably am not going to fully enjoy right away.
Right.
But even like running, it's one of the things. I haven't been able to run for almost 3 years, but when I ran, every single run was one of those tests where you're like, I'm going to overcome my own weakness. I'm going to overcome my own self-thoughts, which is why I want to quit. So even just running for the sake of doing something that I didn't want to do gave me a strength over and over again. Very similar to making calls as a business owner. When you're a business owner, and at first you might not like making calls. Eventually it becomes your best favorite thing because you're connecting with people and the people love you and you have great conversations. But I agree with you. Action comes first, and what you think you know is only a reflection of your experiences so far. So I remember this was within 2 years ago, I never really liked Thai food, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, I'd always look for a ribeye. If they have ribeye, I get the ribeye. It's always what it is. So, but we went to this one Thai place, and then Brooke got pad Thai, which I had never had.
Okay.
And so I was not expecting to like anything there because it was Thai food. I did not ever really have Thai food. I would have maybe those little steak skewers with peanut sauce. Yeah. But I'm like not really excited about going to this Thai place, right? Give me a steakhouse any day. But because my references, that was all I really liked was ribeye.
Yeah.
So they had ribeye. It was good. It was not great. But then Brooke got pad Thai or some stuff. And I tried that. Holy shit. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did because I did not have any references for what that could have been. And that's kind of what happens in life is by the time we get 30, 40, 50, those borders around us are so strong. It's kind of like when we go out to food. We might only think about 5 potential restaurant styles, Mexican, American, pizza, hamburger, whatever, because that's what we do. There could be a Himalayan place. There could be a Kenyan place. There could be, but we're not even thinking that. Very similar to our own emotions. Most people, there's 1,000 different emotions, but most people have about 3 to 5 that they frequent all the time. So anything that happens, if their default is why me and victimhood and shame, anything that happens, someone cuts them off on the road. Oh my God, why does it always happen to me?
Right.
And they trigger that because that is the sum of everything they've experienced. That trigger is the most dominant. And so if you're going to change that, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and start doing things differently, like driving to a different way to work, like getting up at a different time, having a different breakfast, and changing things up. And by doing that, you kind of get young again, where you start experiencing things again. And you start this is a big part of what you guys did. You just packed up, went around, realized how much of the shit you accumulated you really didn't need anymore. You get rid of it and you go, oh, that was cool, but I'm glad I don't have it anymore because now you have more references and you did things, and that activated the neuroplasticity in your brain where your brain got reactivated. It's one of the
That's what I really want to highlight. What you just said is that you start to feel alive again or young again is because you're creating, right? You're like creating something new. And I love that you said like, expect the challenge, right? And so then you start to create new muscles and new strength to be able to handle it. So let me ask you this, because I have this situation. So I did the big challenge, sold the house in the RV. First month or so, I'm like, shit, I wanted a challenge, but this is actually hard. Like, I wanted my challenge to be like fun, like a fun challenge. Did I do the right thing? This is different. Oh my gosh, what have I done? So when you do something, right, and you make that change and it's hard or it's scary or you feel that out of control feeling, what are some of the things that you believe in, that you remember, that because you're so great at like action steps, like whether it's like the gratitude or the brag, whatever, you got tools in the shed. What do you do when you backslide or you feel overwhelmed by your courage?
So it's a really, really great and important point that you make. And there's a couple things too. Is number one, who you have in your ear can be the difference between winning and losing. That's a big part.
Yeah.
So you want to check in. Do you have that person in there? Do you have a partner that you might? And here's the truth. Some of you don't have that partner. That's just the truth. You don't have a partner that's going to remind you of your greatness. You have a partner that's struggling and gave up on themselves, and they're probably giving up on you as well. So that's something that you have to pay attention. But who you have in your ear is critical. I would also say how well you are connected to your own truth is a huge part. So the thing about when I'm doing a brag book or a gratitude journal and I'm journaling, I'm actually capturing my greatness because society isn't going to do it for you. And so when you spend time in your brag book, it's simply something I started doing because I was so connected to all the things I did wrong. Could not see the 10,000 things I did right. But holy shit, I did this happen and I didn't get into Harvard and I didn't do this and I have all that shit on auto repeat.
Right.
Great things I did was I didn't acknowledge it. You get a 98 on an exam. I'm not happy with 98. I want to know what about the 2 questions I missed and why that's not accurate. That should not be the right answer. The right answer is what I put, and I'd get an argument over 2 points. And that's kind of how we've been conditioned. So I'd say the tools that I would say that make a difference is that put yourself in a group or with someone in your ear that is massively committed to improve. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but they are committed to step up. Just being in that type of a community is going to raise your game. And what happens is a lot of times when you get out in the world, everyone's going to, even if you're trying to do great things, they're going to start knocking you down. Why don't you just relax a little bit? Why don't you just chill? Why don't you just, and it's like, I'm not saying you have to go and constantly do, but most people are not out there going after an amazing life. They're settling and they're living below their greatness. And that has been something I want to surround myself with people that say, what is possible? Let's find out. Let's get after that. So the peer group that you have, the other part is how often and how truly connected are you to your purpose and to your dreams? Every single addict I've ever worked with, or people that are really living below, they are disconnected from a higher purpose. They're disconnected from contribution of some sort. When you find that is a lot of times how I've been able to activate people to get them to do the impossible. And it's only impossible to people that have quit on their dreams. You can pretty much do whatever you want to do. And when you connect to your purpose, something magical happens where it activates a part of you. And now it's like you're thinking about doing things. And guess what? If you're surrounded by people that will encourage you, or a good mentor, a good coach, they're encouraging you. They're going, oh, hell yeah, Marni, go after it. Kick some ass. You can absolutely do it. And you're like, wow, he thinks I can do it. I probably can. And what? Oh, wow, he was right. And now it pulls us forward. If you don't have that in your world, though, the same scenario is going to be, Marni, are you sure you want to do that? Marni, you've got kids. What kind of example are you setting for your girls? Why is this always about you, Marni? What about the girls? And they're going to come up with countless things about why. They're not going to see what a great example you're setting for them. You're going to show your girls about living life at the fullest. They're not talking about any of that, but they will come at you. And so it's really important that you have some people in your ear, because I believe everyone, including me, including you, is going to wobble. You're going to have those moments when you're wondering, what the hell? What am I doing? What did I make the right choice? And the reality is, if you did it, you did it. And now the question is, what do you need to do to win? You know what I mean? You quit your job and you're going to build a business. Okay, put your big girl pants on. It's time to get serious. Let's kick some ass. And in that, it might take you 1 to 3 years, but 1 to 3 years down the road, you're making dream money, living your life, and everyone else around you is going to call you lucky. I don't think it's luck. I'd say it's courage and it's action.
I love that, because it's so true. I remember even when my kids were really little, I did this it was called Baby Wide at the time, but it was basically like a sleep training thing. I mean, I know parenting styles change over the decades, but I did this thing and I was like, I'm going to have my kids live life around me. I'm not going to be that person who's like, oh, my life ended, I had kids, right? And so, did this sleep training, whatever, with my kids. And I did it with all 3 of them. But every single time people would be like, you're so lucky. And I'd be like, no, it was really hard. And I was uncomfortable and I had to teach them. And it really showed me what my values were. But I think this is really important. So if someone says to you, or you feel like you're not lucky, or you feel like you are afraid of that hard work a different time in your life, I don't know if I have it in me to start over. What do you say to people? Because I believe anytime, and when you said you're older, you have more wisdom, I think it's the best time.
Exactly. So the first thing is that you have to realize you're going to pay a price either way. Here's the thing people don't realize. If you don't go for your dream, you will pay the price for mediocrity. You will pay the price for living an uninspired life. You will pay the price of watching other people live your dream. You're going to pay a price. The question is not if you're going to pay a price, but which price are you willing to pay? And so one of the things that when you start going out on your own, whether it's to rebuild your body, whether it's to rebuild your relationships, whether it's to find love and not settle for somebody that doesn't activate you or honor you, when you start going down that, it's reclaiming one's sovereignty and one's greatness. And so when you're doing that, you're kind of like, that's what I want. That's a version of me I can see. I'm going to go after that. And then you can start getting clarity on who is and is not a part of that dream. And then all of a sudden, that's kind of like, hey, if I spent 3 to 5 years to be that version of me, what would my life look like? And what happens, though, is you'll start taking action. You might join the gym. You might get hurt. You might have to go. And now all of a sudden you find out your Pilates is your jam. Maybe it wasn't Pilates. Maybe it was martial arts. Maybe it was running. You got in a group of runners. And in the process, like you talked about, action trumps talent, if you will. When you're in action, that's when you're getting that feedback. You're like, hey, this doesn't feel good. This one does. Hey, very similar to what we tell our kids when they're about ready to go to college. It's like, you want to go to college to experience everything, to decide what you want, versus you're going to accounting school, you're going to be an accountant because we've always been accountants, and you're going to get an accountant job and you're going to be stable. People do that, but then they die rapidly. They become an engineer because their parents wanted them to be an engineer. They became an accountant because their family were accountants. They hate it. Somewhere along the lines, you're going to look in the mirror and going, is this all there is? That's a scary moment for men. It's a scary moment for women. You have kids, you had a husband, now all of a sudden there's no passion. You're kind of like, the kids are kind of doing their own thing. All your friends that had friends are all friends around the kids. And now all of a sudden you're like waking up, what's in it for me? Where did I go? And you have to reclaim that sovereignty. You have to reclaim to saying, you know what? I'm Marni before I had kids. I had dreams before I had kids, before I had a husband. I had dreams. When you can go back and find that version of you and start deciding, what do I want here from a place of wisdom? I might not want to go back into full contact, hard full contact martial arts.
Right.
It was fun when you're younger. You get older, maybe I want martial arts, but a new version of that. That's okay. That's what I mean, where wisdom comes into play. But I'd say to anybody out there is that Ernestine Shepherd, she didn't start training until she was 55 with her sister. She's now in her 80s, right? Dr. Life didn't start till he was in his 70s, right? And now you look at him, he looks better than a 20-year-old. So is it possible? Absolutely. but you're going to have to let go of some of the things that you had before in order to open up your hands to grab what you now want. And so a lot of times that's part of it, is you have to let go of the beat up old car to get a new one and put it in the garage. But you can only park one car in the garage. So you have to decide what version of you do you want in that garage. And that's what a lot of people won't do. I've never seen anybody that didn't have the energy. You said, they get going. When you're on purpose, you're going to be more activated, more energized than anything else you can do. It's better than caffeine, better than coffee. It activates you. If you can tie that purpose into serving other people and making the world a better place at some level, you're going to have even more energy, because now as you serve more people, you become the better version of you, and you get more skills to accomplish and serve more people. It's kind of like the difference between, I see people that made a lot of money on eBay, right? Yeah. Not helping a ton of people. They're just buying and selling stuff, but it's cool. They make $20,000, $50,000 a month, which is awesome, but they don't get the benefit like you did when you're helping people save their marriage or helping people find love. And when there's that benefit in it as well, I've just noticed you get more of a juice than if it's just about making a quick buck. Both are important. I think you need to be able to make money. I'm not opposed to money. I think money is a score sheet for how many people you served. I believe the dynamic of money is changing. It's moving away from the Bernie Madoff types, which is like just lie, cheat, and steal. And it's moving towards, do you offer real value? Are you really in service? And if you are, the money is flowing to those individuals. So I'd say that for everybody as well is just, get brutally honest. This is not a make wrong. Are you living below what you want? And you this might be the moment you get to have a real conversation with your spouse and saying, you know what, we're good, but I want to be great. We're falling apart. And again, the different life cycles, the kids get out, empty nesters, you have to re-fall in love. You have to recommit. You have to work, because what brought you together and kept you together a lot of time was those kids. Well, guess what? Kids are off to college. Now it's you and a roommate, and you don't even know each other. So having a conversation saying, who am I? What really fuels me? Not what am I settling for, but what do I really want? And then look at what do I need to do to start implementing that? Because I believe everybody can have a dream life. I really do.
I love that. I was thinking, my husband was showing me, I was watching, I'm really into football. So was watching the combine where the college athletes, right? And we were watching this guy do the 40, and we were talking about all of these records. And my husband's like, did you know that Tom Brady was faster at the 40 at like 40 something than 20 something? And I guess there's some video on YouTube showing him actually faster when he's older, right? And there's all around us these examples of people who are saying, like, I want to be the most optimized version of myself. It doesn't matter what the limitations are. I believe, right? And when you believe and you go for it, then it may not be, like you said, exactly what you thought, or it might not be what it was, but there's something that's inside of you that's your greater destiny. Okay, last question for you. If you were to think about, like, when you think of this is what it takes to really optimize who I am, are there practices or ways that someone can structure their day to start to grow into their new identity that foster the forward motion?
1,000%. There's a few things too that I would say to simplify it down. The first thing is to get clear on what you want. Okay, if I have a dream of being a mixed martial arts fighter again, I want to get back into that. Well, I have to accept with that I'm going to get punched, I'm going to get hit, I'm going to hit back. That's different. I might be in a position where I don't want that. Maybe I look at Aikido or Aikido or something else that maybe isn't quite as combative. So first, I have to pick what resonates for me. Because if you hear somebody saying, oh, you need to go out there and make a bunch of money, but your dream is to be a supermom, that might not be your jam. You have to decide what is your truth. And a lot of times we were programmed by our parents, our churches, and our schools to be a certain way. When you become an adult, you get to look back and decide, you know what, is that really what I wanted, or is that what everyone wanted for me?
Yep.
Once you make your declaration about, I want to get in the best shape of my life for me, it's not that I'm not sexy, it's not that I'm not enough, but I want to look in the mirror and be inspired when I see me. I want to know that I paid the price or whatever. Then the next thing you know is once you have a target, then you have to decide which version of you is the best version to get you there. Is it my superhero or my supervillain? The superhero is the one that I fed and I fueled by doing the brag book, the gratitude journal. So every time I'm over there documenting every day, about 5 or 10 minutes, just start capturing what you did that you're proud of. You don't have to share it with anybody, but just go with the time I stood up to Lumpy, right? In 4th grade, I stood up to the biggest kid in school because he was beating up one of our friends, and I beat him up, right? And so I captured that when I got straight A's, and then I got the high score in Orange County for by the standardized test, and undefeated in martial arts, and all the highest GPA and highest this, and I started writing all this stuff down. I realized it's not an ego stroke. It's simply like, holy shit, you did a lot of kick-ass shit. You're not a douchebag. Because my mind is, oh, I didn't go to Harvard. Oh, I didn't make $1 billion. Oh, I didn't, create SpaceX. So if I don't have that, I decide which version of me, and you have to feed that version of you. That's where the brag book comes in. 10 minutes a day will change your world. The other thing is I would say is to move intentionally every day into gratitude. If you were in your victim frequency, like life's not fair, why does this always happen to me? You've got no power. When I am in gratitude, now I can look at things and even my challenges, and I can look at those challenges and I can say, okay, what could be great about this? Okay, what am I grateful for right now? Like right now, today, I'm super, super stoked. My daughter, you've heard the stories of Montana. She just got matched at the hospital that she's going to be doing a residency with. That was a big step.
Yeah.
All the way back, we're talking 10 to 15 years where, she was a runner. And so getting to do that, I'm super grateful for that, the feeling of that. And so that energy of gratitude, now everything's possible. From a position of gratitude, which is excitement, appreciation, and it's different than entitlement and kind of, oh, you owe me. And victimhood is right next to you owe me. No one owes you anything. But if you're waiting for someone else outside to save you, you're in trouble. There was a really great book called, If You See Buddha on the Side of the Road, Kill Him. And somebody got this book, and I hated the title, but I started going into it. I was like, holy shit, he's right. It basically is that we have been conditioned to think the expert is out there. The expert is always down the road, and we don't own our own greatness. So for somebody trying to recreate a 2.0, you need to realize that you are your own divinity. You need to start with you. And the brag book, the gratitude journal every day changes. Now, there's another thing I did, which I freaked out on, which was, you've heard me talk about the soundtrack of awesome. I'd also noticed one of the fastest hacks that I can chase to get me into my power is the soundtrack of awesome. I have a list of about 50 different songs that are all key moments of my lifetime. When I had my first kiss, right before youth group, 7th grade, back as Truth or Dare before youth group, right? But the song Undercover Angel was playing, right? Now when I hear the song, it immediately creates that same frequency. When I won student body president in high school, the song that was playing, and now I hear it, I immediately am transported back. Well, you listen to these songs and they activate you because they're not random songs. They're key selected songs of key moments in my life when everything was amazing. I'd play the songs, I start feeling really good. Now, this helps to balance when I get out into life and things don't go my way. When I've been doing this every day, my gratitude journal, my brag book, my soundtrack of awesome, then when I'm going to make the calls or I'm going to do the thing and I get knocked down, because I've been conditioning this every day, I immediately go back to imagining myself in the best body I've ever had, imagining my business is going better than I could have ever imagined. And I can go there so quickly because I'm doing gratitude, because I have a brag book. And I have those people in my ear that remind me as well when I need it. And if you do that, you can really fast track whatever you want. Don't confuse where you are with what you could create and who you could become. Because that's in you right now. Just like an oak tree, when you see that little acorn, you don't judge the tree by the size of the acorn, and it's kind of like what's great and what's possible within everyone listening is whatever you're willing to claim and go after. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter if you have a kid, doesn't matter if you're a single mom, doesn't matter if you're married, doesn't matter if you have a supportive spouse or not. When you declare what you want in this world, the things in the world will start moving to align to that. And that's also why you got to surround yourself with people that think differently, because Most people are right now down on their luck, and they're getting their asses kicked, so they have very little to give back.
I love that. That was Marc Von Musser in 4 minutes or less, and everything so great that I ever learned from you. So thank you for just encapsulating that. I do have a lot of people who listen to this show who are in sales, who are coaches, consultants, experts, where our worlds have all sort of come together. And I just want to make sure we talk about this because I'm going to put it up real soon here, publish it. You are doing an event coming up pretty soon called Roar and Soar Live, which I think is super, super exciting. I'm going to put a link to the show note, but there's a lot of like events and stuff that people can do. We see all our freaking feeds are filled with stuff, some of it crap, some of it awesome. For anyone who's listening, what this is for, what makes this different? Why would you want to come to this?
So there's a couple things too. In order for people to win, there's a couple of shifts that have to happen, and one of which is mindset. I've seen as much as 80% of our success is dependent on how well we control our mind. So mindset's a part of it. Heart set is another aspect people skip. Heart set is about our purpose, our frequency, that identity, getting all of those in alignment. And then lastly is the skill set or action set. You have to be able to be taking intelligent action that is relevant right now. What's happened in the online marketing space is people before COVID, before the lockdowns, before the recession, what worked 4 years ago is not working today. But the problem is those same gurus are pitching it today like everything's hunky-dory when we know for a fact that it's not. They're getting their asses handed to them. Most of them are out of business. But right up until the point they pulled the plug, they're out there telling everybody, come join me. Look at all the money I made. 4 years ago, they forgot that part. Let's edit that out.
Right.
And so what I really didn't like was all these people that were spewing this shit when we knew their numbers were not what they were pitching. So good people were coming into these programs, spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month on ads,
right,
knowing that it wasn't going to work. And then when it didn't work, the people on stage are going, oh, it's your mindset. It's all you. No, it's not. How come it's not working for you then? Is it your mindset? Is it everyone else's mindset too? So we wanted to have an honest conversation about what does it take to win today.
I love that.
Strategies that are working today without some agenda like, oh, I have a high ticket, so everything's going to be a high ticket solution. Oh, I have an ebook. Everything's an ebook solution. We're just going to talk about what are the things that are working right now. Second thing that we're going to be doing is also about harnessing AI. This is a danger and an opportunity at the same time. Right. AI, when properly handled, can handle about 80% of the minutia and a lot of the logistical stuff, but you're losing your voice if you're not careful. Because they're pulling from, let's just say, 100,000, 1 million different voices. They take them, they homogenize them, they say this is the generic, so you'll sound just like everyone else. So you lose yourself in that space, but you still need to learn how to work with AI. We're going to be covering that as well. That's going to be important. The other big key pieces, we're also going to be addressing the key killers to any business. There's 3 different killers energetically that if you were not aware of these, it doesn't matter how good your funnel is, it won't work. And then the last thing, we're going to show you how to modify and tune up your VSL or your webinar and show you how to adjust it so it has impact. If it doesn't have impact and doesn't have relevance, your message is being wasted. So we're going to dial those in. And the last thing is on a sales process. If you have a webinar, that's a 45-minute, basically, explanation of your program. Well, that does a lot of heavy lifting. So your structure on your back-end enrollment call needs to be in alignment with that, right? Now, the VSL is only a 7-minute video sales letter. It doesn't do as much heavy lifting. So you have to modify your enrollment call to modify what it's not covering. And most of the sales gurus have no idea. They are still trying to apply their sales pitch from their blog and from their launch. And then they modified it. Well, it doesn't work that way. That's their arrogance and ignorance around sales showing up. That's why they can't write a script or structure for a VSL that works for anything. So we're going to explain how to do that. We're going to show you, if you're on a podcast, if you're on a stage, if you're on a whatever it is, here's how to articulate your message so it is in alignment with the vehicle and you will get the max result out of it. So those are some of the topics that we're going to be breaking down.
I love it. If you are a speaker, coach, consultant, have any business like that, make sure you check out Roar and Soar. And what I also really love about this is, and I know there's just like a lot of value because you have to pay for it. Right? It's not so inexpensive that you know that there's no value in it. You're just going to get something at the end. So I love that it's priced to show value, but also super affordable. So I just thank you for that. And I'm excited. I'm excited for everything that's going to happen with that. And I'm just so happy to be reconnected.
I agree. You were such a blast to work with. I always loved the strength and the spice that you brought every single time. It was so good.
I'm definitely a sassy girl. It was funny. I was thinking about the superhero the other day because my superhero. Did you ever watch the diner show Flo? It was like Alex. Yeah. Well, anyway, there was this character. Her name was Flo. She worked at a diner. She like chewed gum. She was kind of like sassy, right? And so I was doing this exercise. It was probably like 2 years ago. So I was in the RV and I was like, what is my superhero? For some reason, that persona, she's not like a Wonder Woman. She's just like a real down to earth, whatever. And I named her Vi because it's my vitality that is my super, right? Like my energy when I'm in that. And so I was just thinking about that the other day. I was like,
superheroes, the keys on that is the traits that we admire. So when you think of Flo was always willing to say what needed to be said.
Yeah.
And she was not afraid to speak what, and because of that, you really honored that internal strength where she was a person that, and she did it with her quip and she was so good, but it was like, oh shit, Flo just dropped a truth bomb. But that's a big part. It's actually Vicki Lawrence. I didn't realize, but she was also a singer that, the night lights went out.
Put out in Georgia. Yeah.
It's so funny because I think of her as Flo, and then there's this whole other version of her too. She was one that got more known for Flo and her characters than she did even her hit music. But
totally,
she created another second version of her as well.
So. Exactly. And I know every word to that song because it was, I don't know if it'd be on my awesome playlist, my soundtrack of awesome. It's probably not, but I remember, but that era was just so.
Yeah. Oh my God. Helen Reddy and
all that.
I loved all of that.
Well, if you like all those songs, then you are in the right place. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for talking about how we can reinvent our lives. I'm so impressed by you taking the leap and just such an inspiration. I love being in your energy and your vibe. So thank you for creating that opportunity for me recently. Warren Sorg, check it out. March 23rd, 24th, 25th. If you're listening to this later and you go to that link in the show notes, I'm sure there will be something there. But you also just want to go to roarandsoar.com/SOAR Live to see the super hot, hunky picture of Marc Von Musser. So there you go. You look great in there. Ladies, so many tips and a routine and so many tangible action steps in this episode. It is your responsibility and your privilege to always and forever life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.